make this about, look, I can win this game with the things that I do in the passing game. I think they have to stay with their plan of running the ball effectively, and then take those shots that are there and make really good decisions and get over any tendency that you might have to want to show people what you can do. You know, I really like the fact that they've incorporated the tight end so much more into this offense.
In the last month, yes.
And it's been huge for them. So following the formula and the game plan that's got them to this point, and not letting that desire to prove people wrong overtake yourself and make bad decisions.
You said we know what we're going to get from Ezekiel Elliott in this game. I can't have that as a given, because we know that Seattle's #1 prerogative in this football game is going to be stopping Ezekiel Elliott, going to be make Dallas beat us with their passing attack. You talked earlier, about Seattle's coverage, that they're either in a cover 3 or a cover 1, that for a wide receiver, these are favorable coverages where you're not going to necessarily have to deal with safety help immediately, that if you can beat your man. Seattle, I believe, they are going to give Dak looks, and the Dallas offensive coordinator looks, where they're saying, oh, we dare you to pass it. Come on. It's right there for you. You got Amari Cooper. You got Dak Prescott. Pass the ball. And they are going to spend the lion's share of their effort in making sure Zeke doesn't do what he's done over these last 2 months, which is be the most productive non-quarterback in football. What Zeke's been on this winning streak, when they won 7 of 8, 6 of 7 with him, he's averaging 160 yards from scrimmage on 29 touches per game. So if he does that, Dallas should win. But Seattle's entire game plan is making sure he can't do that, and that's where the question marks about Dak are real. Because if the Cowboys can play Seattle to a draw in the passing game, Dallas should win. Dallas has home field. They have the better running game, even if Seattle has a great rushing attack. If they can play the passing game to a draw, I think they should win the game. But I don't know that I believe they can play Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett to a draw on Saturday night.
Yeah, the thing that concerns me is, in these playoff games, you try to remain calm and remain cool, but you know that clock is ticking. You are under the urgency. So I don't believe in momentum from week number 17 where you're going to be in the playoffs no matter what. The game plan that they had in week number 17 is not a game plan that they can carry over to the playoff, because they allowed Dak to take all types of chances. On the touchdown to the tight end, tight end made a couple guys miss, but Dak is running to his right, throws back across his body. That's not something they're going to tolerate in a winner-takes-all type of matchup. So for me, trying to rush and do too many things, as you said, trying to win the game. That's the #1 stat that these quarterbacks have to be involved in. We got a lot of quarterbacks that got limited experience, and in doing that, you can rush in the playoffs. That's what I have seen. I played with Randall Cunningham when he hadn't won a playoff game for a long, long time, and you could see that in the game, as the game went on, that we have less patience because they haven't had success in the playoffs and the pressure of the playoffs.
When Adrian Peterson was at his best, I remember watching the games against Green Bay where they'd have 10 guys in the box, and they'd hand the ball off to him on a power, and he'd still figure out a way to get 20 yards. And look, the great running backs are able to do that. Even though you've got a hat for a hat and a number for a number, sometimes your X is better than their O. And for Ezekiel Elliott, that X is better than a lot of people's O's, so you got to keep giving him the ball. And I worry a little bit about that with Dallas, because we saw them trying to find their way early in the season. Are they going to have the commitment that you see from Seattle?
Yep.
Seattle's willing to keep handing the ball off until 2.9 yards, doesn't matter. Hand the ball off, and it sets everything else up. So will Dallas have that same patience in this game?
I'm very curious, because yesterday you said what you would wish for any team going in the playoffs is to play loose, right? That you said that one of the toughest things is that guys get too uptight in the playoffs, and what Dallas had going for them in Week 17 is they were, I don't know if you used the word loose or...
I don't think I said loose.
Maybe loose is the wrong word, but you remember the conversation I'm talking about. That they play with freedom almost, and to not... And what you're talking about, see, is in the playoffs, that's the hardest thing to do, and you're almost not allowed to do it. So
yeah, that's always people who aren't playing. Oh, I want to play loose. Yeah, and you know that clock is ticking. You know that basically whatever whatever legacy, whatever dreams and aspirations the team have, it all relies on that game. So it's hard to impossible to remain cool and calm.
And the problem with last week is Seattle's defense can have a little bit different intensity than the Giants' defense did.
Yeah,
and
I think the only comparison between Seattle's defense and the defense and the Giants' defense they face is they got 11 guys on the field. The only similarities to it.
And the problem you can get into is some of the things that worked last week. You may think, oh, that'll work. That was a really good concept. That was a really good idea. Yeah, but those windows close totally differently now than they did.
But is there something to the fact that he was so successful because they opened things up for him and they let him take more chances as opposed to trying to control exactly what he's doing all the time? There's no correlation there?
No correlation to me, because Ezekiel Elliott's not playing, the offensive line is not there. You know you're going into this game trying to experiment. When they get there, you know it starts with that tailback back there and that offensive line. You know you're going against a ball control and a quarterback that is as good as any quarterback in the clutch. So all those things are taken into consideration when you're calling plays and you're trying to chart up a game plan to beat Seattle.
And what's going to be so interesting about this game, with everybody running the ball so much, it's going to be a short game. There might be not a lot of possessions for you to put points on the board. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
All the games are the same amount of time, but we
got two running teams.
Just press that auto delete again.
Got it.
Okay.
Coach, stick around. Coming up, can the Eagles recreate their Super Bowl magic?
Didn't mean to correct that.
Mental note, wasn't as funny when I said it as it was in my head. We'll hear it from Doug Peterson next on First Things First.
Wasn't as funny when I said it as it was in my head. The Jenna Wolf story. Oh my God.
That and 3 a.m.